Welcome to another edition of All Ball Chicago. I'm your co-host, Robert Bobby Reed, and I got the legend, the NBA veteran, the McDonald All-American, your host, Marcus Liberty in the building. What's up, Marcus?
What's up, my main man? We in the building, man. It's gonna be hot today, man. We got a nice one, man. Legendary Ronnie Lester will be joining us. As a matter of fact, we're gonna go ahead and bring him in right now.
Ronnie Lester.
Yeah, man. We got Ronnie Lester gonna come in and join us. Soon when we get
Yes,
his mic on,
sir.
and Chicago, all my Chicagoans who know Ronnie Lester, who've seen him play, make sure you tune in to it. And if you got some comments down at the bottom of Facebook Live, make sure you share them. And if we can get to them, we definitely gonna let Ronnie know. Oh, here he is. Here he is. He's coming in the building right now. So when we get this audio on, and we'll start, talking to him.
I got to give him the intro. I got to give him the intro.
Yeah, yeah, we'll do that.
Let's go.
Let me make sure I'll share this into my other page. Got you. Is he in?
Mr. Lester, can you hear us?
Ronnie, can you hear us? Yep, he can't hear us right now. But yeah, just go ahead, Rob.
Yeah, man, we got Mr. Ronnie Lester in the building. Today, on All Ball Chicago, one of Chicago's top point guards of all time, Dunbar High School, Iowa Hawkeyes, drafted by the Chicago Bulls, a legend with the Lakers. Give it up for your man, Ronnie Lester, aka Santo. He in the building. we getting his audio together. So, man, we finna chop it up with him. Ronnie, can you hear us, big baby?
He just timed out again. He just tuned in and toned out again. But yeah, this is gonna be a good one, man. Because what I like what we do, Rob. We know we not into the journalism and all that stuff, man. But we good at what we do, brother, and that's just bringing it every single day, pretty much.
Can you hear us, Mr. Lester? Can you hear us, Mr. Lester?
Like what we do, Rob. We know we not into the journalism and all. Can he hear us? Ronnie, can you hear us? What we do, brother, and
can you hear us?
And that's just bringing it every single day, pretty much.
Can you hear us, Mr. Lester?
I don't think he can hear us.
He can't hear us yet. We got Ronnie Lester on the line, y'all. He's trying to get his audio right, and we gonna rock and roll with him, man. One of the legends of Chicago. I don't know if his volume is coming in. Can you hear us, Mr. Lester?
Trying to see.
This technical. We got a small technical
difficulties right now, but we gonna fix it.
Yes, sir. Okay, his audio is connecting. His audio is connecting. Here we go.
Ronnie, can you hear us?
He's coming. Mr. Lester, can you hear us on here? Liv, he had the nastiest hezzy.
Man, he was strong though, man. Ronnie Lester was. I had a lot of people, man, that was telling me about Ronnie, coming up and growing up in South Side, growing up on that South Side Stateway Garden, and going to Dunbar and really he's just a winner. Everybody I talked to said he's a winner. Everywhere he went, he was he won. And even at Dunbar High School, and some people was chiming in on our Facebook Live page, on our Facebook Line page, and they was telling us that he played baseball too. I never could get into baseball, man. I never tried to play, but I wish I did, because a lot of basketball players seem to play a lot of baseball in Chicago as well as, um, basketball. But Ronnie was definitely someone that I think that paved the way for a lot of, us growing up, in Chicago and hearing stories that my dad and my uncles told me about Ronnie, and then just actually, watching some old footage of him and seeing some of the things that he was doing. It was remarkable, man. And when you have somebody like that coming from the crib, you can't do nothing but respect it, So when we got the opportunity to get him on the show, I asked him, and he was on board, man. And that just shows you, how much love he still have for Chicago.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And man, I mean, you're talking about a winner, man. You're talking about a lot of times you don't know about these guys until you start digging.
Right.
And I don't want to give up too much, because he's
Right.
coming on. I see his mic right there. Is it any way that we can unmute that? Any way you can unmute that?
Oh, he got to do that on his end.
Yeah. So, coming up back then in the 70s, man, and that's when Chicago was like really, really taking off, man. Guys was really taking off, man, back then. And in a lot of cases, it was getting them out the hood.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You live, Mr. Lester.
Hey Marcus, how you doing?
All right, we got you now.
Ronnie Lester, I'm Robert Bobby Reed, man. It's a pleasure to meet you, man.
How you doing, Robert?
Man, I watched you play in Chicago State all the time, man, and it was a pleasure, man. Thanks for giving me that. But I wanted to give you the proper introduction because we got you on here. You ready?
I'm ready, sir.
Okay. So tonight on All Ball Chicago, we got one of the top point guards out of Chicago ever. Dunbar High School, Iowa State Hawkeyes, drafted by the Bulls, played for the Lakers and won a title in 1985, and executive. Give it up for Ronnie Lester, a.k.a. Santos. What's up, baby?
Ronnie over there laughing because you said Iowa State, man.
I said Iowa Hawkeyes.
Yeah, you said Iowa State Hawkeyes, but I'll let it slide.
Oh, man. Iowa State Hawkeyes. Iowa State. Dang, I dropped the ball.
Oh, you dropped the ball, man. But Ronnie, man, it's a pleasure to have you on here, man. We've been talking, and we try to get some legendary people that played basketball back in the day and in this era just to get on, man. And when we put you out there, man, our page almost shut down, man, because everybody got stories. I went to Dunbar with Ronnie. I played with Ronnie. That's my man, So I said it'd be great for Ronnie to get on our show and just, talk about his upbringing. I know you're from the Stateway Garden and learned the game, but I also want to just ask you right off the top, who was the first person that put the basketball in your hand?
Initially I played baseball, and that's where the name Sano came in. Ron Sano was the third baseman for the Cubs.
Yeah, right.
I played baseball. I played Little League baseball for 2 years before trying basketball. And about 10 and a half, I started to pick up the game of basketball, got a basketball for Christmas, and that was the start of it for me, learning the game and falling in love with the game and trying to become a player like the big guys were.
Baseball?
Baseball.
And was you pretty good at it?
I played baseball for 2 years. I played shortstop was my main position, but they move you around a little bit of everywhere. I played third. I played the outfield. I pitched a little bit, but mostly I was a shortstop.
Wow.
Pure athlete.
Wow, that's pretty remarkable, man. Because I always said I wanted to play another sport, but I couldn't find another sport that I could probably play. I was 6, man. I was pretty tall, man. Baseball, I don't know, unless I could become a pitcher or something. I don't know, but But yeah, so you grew up in Stateway Garden, right?
I grew up in Stayaway Gardens, 3618 South State Street. My family moved there when I was about 8 years old. Originally, I'm not from Chicago originally. I was born in a small town called Sharon in the state of Mississippi, and my family moved up to Chicago when I was about 6 years old, and we initially moved to the West Side for 2 years.
Wow, it's interesting. West Side, moved to the West Side, and then moved to the South Side. And did were they recruiting back then, Rodney, to go to high school, or since you were from Stateway, but Phillips would have been your school, right? Or no?
Yeah, I grew up in that district. I have an older sister, a couple years older, who went to Phillips, and I didn't really want to go to Phillips. I started playing basketball at about 10 and a half. I played what they call biddy basketball. I think they call it something else, maybe pee wee basketball now, but back then, biddy basketball, they lowered the basket down from 10 feet to 8 feet. You played with a little smaller ball, and you couldn't be over 5 feet 6 inches tall to play. And that's how I started playing. I started playing biddy basketball as a seventh grader.
So and how did you develop that mental toughness? Because we have a lot of guests on, and certain guests, they talk about it, they got it this way, and then another one say we got it this way. My dad, was pushing me around, and I got it from my dad. How did you, find out, or who was the one that tried to test you, and you had to have that mental toughness?
It came from, for me, growing up in Stayaway Garden, there were a lot of kids everywhere. It came from just being competitive, playing sports, wanting to win, um, playing on different teams. I think it's playing in different circumstances, playing in different parks and different leagues. You have to bring it sort of every time you go on the basketball court, or you're going to get embarrassed usually. So that brings that toughness, that tough mentality, I think, out of most city players.
Okay, Rob, you got something you want to ask
But
him?
yeah, and he grew because you was what 5'6", and then you shot up to 6'2".
Yeah, it was funny because my freshman year, well, I go back to my junior high. I played junior high basketball as an eighth grader at Frederick Douglass Elementary School,
Okay,
and we had a really good team. We had Marty Murray was on that team, Mango Klein, Levon Richmond, a lot of the guys that went on to Phillips and won a state championship their senior year in high school.
okay,
Um, I played on that same team, but right down the street from me was Dunbar High School. Dunbar was like 2 blocks away. And I used to go down and see some of their games when I was in high school. And they had a point guard by the name of Michael Poole. I don't know if you know that name or not.
Michael Poole.
Michael Poole, Poole, Poole.
Okay.
He was 5'5", and I was only about 5'6" as an eighth grader. And I
right,
used to go down to watch him play. And he would just control the game from foul line to foul line. He controlled the game. The littlest guy on the floor just controlled the game. And I was a big fan of his because I was basically the same size. And I saw him do that. And I thought to myself, if he could do that, I can do it.
wow,
And that was one of the reasons I wanted to go to Dunbar. Besides, my coach, who coached me in biddy basketball, had also gone to Dunbar, and we talked about that. And I ended up going to Dunbar and playing there. But my first 2 years, I was a little guy, 5'6", 130, 35 pounds. Over my sophomore summer, I grew like 7, 8 inches. It was the scariest thing because my knees were killing me all summer.
right, right.
I didn't know why, but I was growing. Uh, I go back for my junior year of high school, and most of the guys don't even recognize me. Most of my teammates who I played with don't even recognize me because back then, um, the afro was the big thing, having a big fro.
Right, that was the 70s.
Yeah. That was 1974. And my mother used to make me get a haircut like every 2 weeks. And after my sophomore year, I said, Mom, I don't want to get a haircut. And I let my hair grow out all summer. I grew a little fro. I grew like 7, 8 inches. I came back and nobody recognized me.
Wow.
You come over there looking like a baby doc. Wow.
Well, well, Ronnie, that's interesting that you said about you watched Mr. Poole with your former Dunbar alumni guy, and you watched how he handled himself out there on the court, the way he was doing things, and that's what I think a lot of people was telling me when I was, told them that you was going to be on the show, that your IQ understanding of the game was off the charts. Meaning you knew exactly where players were going to be. You knew when to shoot the ball. You knew when to make things happen for your team. Tell us a little bit about that, man, because I think what we're trying to do is try to help a lot of people, our listeners who have children or coaches. Walk us through something like this. Put your coaching hat on right now. That you as a coach, how would you structure your team?
I think first of all, you have to learn the game. You have to learn the rules of the game, the fundamentals of the game. We all have different talents and abilities, but we can all do certain things to bring out the talents and abilities we have. I think as players, we have to, and players know when they need to get better at something. Uh, for me, I tried to get better. I would see older guys do something, and some things you're just not capable of doing. You're not as talented as some of the other guys. Because I grew
Mm-hmm.
up with a lot of guys who were great, great players who didn't go on to play in high school and college and didn't get a chance because of different things.
Mhm.
But if you love the game, like I fell in love with the game. I was saying I played baseball
Mm-hmm.
and I was a pretty good baseball player. But once I got the basketball fever, I never went back to baseball. I knew that was the game I wanted to play. I knew that was the game I was sort of meant to play. I think a lot of kids today, with the way things are today, it's not a lot of physical activity today. A lot of kids are stuck inside playing video games and those things. In our day, it was outside activity. It was, when the football season came, you tried to play football, and basketball was basketball, then baseball. Uh, for me, just picking up the game and loving the game, I couldn't get enough of it. Just learning the game, trying to be the best player I could be, and along with that, as you know, Marcus, comes a lot of sacrifice.
Mm-hmm.
When your friends are doing something, going out or going here or there, you can't hang out with your friends. You got to be home because the next day you got practice or you have a game. You have to love the game enough to sacrifice for the game, I think.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. I agree with you on that. Now, the next question I want to ask you, I know you played with some uh, Calvin Davis. He's a mentor. I used to talk to him a lot, and he's always talk about you. And I think you guys have been playing together for a very long time. I wanted to tell some of our listeners because a lot of our listeners haven't seen him play either. So tell me a little bit about Calvin Davis game when you guys were playing together.
Um, I first met Calvin at Douglas Elementary because he lived, I think, a couple blocks away. And so we were in the same class. And we ended up playing bitty basketball together as, 12-year old kids. Um, Calvin and I also played in high school. We didn't play together all 4 years, I think, but Calvin and I played in high school for 2 or 3 years. Um, Calvin ended up playing college basketball at William Penn College in Pella, Iowa. And I didn't know he was at Pella until my sophomore year. Uh, at Iowa, I just finished my sophomore year, and one of my teammates is getting married, and he's from Pella. And I go to his wedding. I'm in his wedding, and I go there, and I see Calvin Davis in
Wow.
Pella, Iowa. the last person I thought I'd see. But Calvin's a good friend. I've known him for a long time. Uh, Good player. Calvin was. He'll probably tell you he was pretty good, and he was pretty good. He was a little bit bigger than I was. I think in high school I shot up and caught up with him in height.
Uh-huh.
But Calvin was always one of those dependable, solid guys that you have on your team. You know you can depend on Calvin.
Yeah. And we all have those type of players. And how did you end up at Iowa? I know you were being recruited probably by a lot of, prestigious universities across the country. What made you pick Iowa?
Well, it's funny. I didn't get recruited until my senior year of high school. My junior year, we had two guys on our team who were our two leading scorers. Clifford Allen was our leading scorer, left-handed, about 6'6". I think
Mm-hmm.
he ended up going to the University of Wyoming. Willie Smith was about 6'4" or 6'5", ended up going to one of the schools in central Illinois somewhere. I forget where now. And I was
Mm-hmm.
probably the third leading scorer on that team. And any, I didn't get recruited really until my senior year. Those guys had left. And the next year, um, I had a good year because we needed scoring. Those two guys had left, our two leading scorers, and I think I averaged about maybe 27 points a game my senior year in high school. And then all the schools started recruiting me. I don't think I was real heavily recruited, but I took some visits out of high school. I went to Arizona, Nebraska, Creighton, and Iowa were the four schools that I decided to visit coming out of high school. And picking Iowa, it was close to home. I thought I'd have a chance to play right away at Iowa. Um, I liked the university, everything I saw, the teammates that I would play with once I got there, the coaching staff. It was a lot of pluses that made me pick the University of Iowa.
Ronnie,
Yeah, I
that's
was reading
go
too.
ahead.
Sorry, Liv.
Oh, go ahead.
I was reading. Lute Olson was one of the few people who wanted to come visit you too, right?
Yeah, Luke came to visit.
He
He
became
came.
coming every weekend. I was reading it. He was really on you, wasn't it, man? Tell the truth.
Yeah, Iowa was the first school to see me play. One of their assistant coaches, a guy by the name of Tony McAndrews, he came to see, and we talk about it a lot because Tony and I lived in the same town for a little while, a few years back, and I used to see him quite a bit. We'd go out to dinner. He came to see a game, LaSalle, Peru, which is downstate Illinois.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Dunbar goes to LaSalle, Peru every year to start the season to play at LaSalle, Peru. And he was at the LaSalle, Peru game to see one of their players. And we beat LaSalle, Peru. I guess we had never beat LaSalle, Peru down there all the time we were playing. And we beat them that year. And after the game, my coach comes up to me and he has Tony McAndrews, assistant coach from the University of Iowa, with him. He introduces himself, tells me who he is. And at that point, they start recruiting me. They come to practices. They come to almost every game. One of their assistant coaches is at almost at every game. They
Wow.
recruited me pretty hard. They were the first to recruit me, and they stayed after me pretty hard, and that kind of stuck in my mind,
Right.
that they were the first. And also, I thought it was the best place for me, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and it turned out to be a good decision to go there.
Yes, it did.
And Ronnie, we know that a lot of, like myself, was being recruited by a lot of colleges, but we know a lot of college coaches will tell you just about anything to get you on campus. Now, did that coach, Lou Olson, was he the man of his word? Whatever he was telling you to get you on campus, to get you to commit to the school, did he follow through on those things?
Yeah, coach was great. He told me two things. He said, if you come to school here, you'll get your degree. and after you leave, you'll be a better player. And those two things happen. I had other schools amongst those schools I mentioned. They were trying to induce me to come by giving me things.
Oh,
They was doing that back then.
Yeah, doing that back then. Back then, 1976.
wow.
And my high school coach really helped me with that because every visit I had, weekend visit with a school, I'd come back to school on Monday and we sit and talk about the visit, talk about certain things. And he told me something that stuck in my mind. He said, never take anything from anybody because if anybody finds out, you may never play college basketball. And that always stuck in my mind.
Ooh.
But it's so many people that wouldn't do that. It's and so
Yeah.
many people would do the opposite, man. And that just, I just, that's a testament of your upbringing too. Your moms made sure that you was on the straight and narrow and not falling wayside too where you grew up at. A lot of times we come victims, or we want to say, like people always talk about, well, you're going to be another dude that's not going to do anything. You're going to end up back at Stateway Garden or wherever you may be, and we'll see you soon. But you
Right.
had your mom, you had Lou Olson who believed in you, told you come here, you're going to get your degree, and you guys, I think you won. Did you get to the championship
They
game at
went to the
Iowa?
Final Four, right?
Yeah.
That was a
When I first went to Iowa, we weren't very good, to be honest with you, Marcus.
Okay.
but you started as a freshman, right?
You know what? I didn't start initially. The first 5 or 6 games, I came off the bench, and coach gave me a start in one of the preseason games, and I went back to the bench, and um, I started starting regularly the third Big Ten game of my career, which incidentally was at the University of Illinois. It's a funny story because we thought we were pretty good in the preseason. In the preseason you don't play really good teams. I think we were 7-2, 8-1 going into the Big Ten season, and our first Big Ten game was at the University of Minnesota, Williams Arena, 19,000 fans, and at halftime of the game, we're down 20.
Whoa.
And in those days, if you're down 20 at halftime, the game is practically over. There was no shot clock in those days. I'm kind of
Right.
dating myself here. There was no 3-point line. So you're down 20. That's a big deficit.
Right.
The second game, we go to Purdue, and Purdue has. And by the way, that Minnesota team was the best team in the Big Ten that year, but they were on probation. They couldn't go to the tournament. They had Michael Thompson, who became the first pick in the draft.
Yeah.
Wow.
They had Kevin McHale, was a freshman on the
Whoa.
team. Flip Saunders was the point guard. Osborne Lockhart, the two guard. Ray Williams, the small forward who played in the NBA with the Knicks. They were really good.
Yes.
Um, the year before, Michigan and Indiana had played in the national title game, 1976 title game. Michigan played Indiana. Indiana beat Michigan in the title game. Michigan had a couple Chicago guys, Ricky Green, John Robinson was on that team. And when I got to, I was a freshman. Ricky was a senior at Michigan. But the Big Ten was really good. A second Big Ten game playing at Purdue, I think we're down 17 or 18 at halftime. And we knew right there, and I knew after playing those two teams, we had a lot of work to do at Iowa if we were going to be any good. Because those two teams smoked us pretty good in half of a basketball game.
Man,
Wow.
it's crazy that you remember that. You remember those games, man. Like I can't remember none of my games at Illinois. And here it is, 19. You remembering all these games, man. But now it's time for you to get drafted, into the NBA. We trying to move along because I know we want to get to some other questions when you put your hat on as far as the GM, assistant GM with the Lakers and how you got your shot. But let's talk about that, getting drafted into the NBA. first round. What was it? 10th pick
Yeah,
in
10th
the
pick.
draft.
Right.
Was it the Bulls that drafted you?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Well,
He
the
was
way I
drafted by the
was,
Portland Trailblazers, right?
yeah, the way I was told, and things are totally different back then, where they have the draft and everybody's in the green room on TV. I got a call from a sports writer in Chicago. I was going to summer school in Iowa City. I got a call from a sports writer in Chicago. Said, you are been drafted by Portland. You were traded to the Bulls, and you're going to be a Chicago Bull. And that was the first I heard of that, because I was in summer school that day and never heard about it until getting this call from a sports agent. And about an hour later, I get a call from the general manager, who at that time was Rod Thorne, telling me what had happened during the draft, that I was coming to Chicago. Um, but back in those days, everything was totally different.
Yeah.
So
So
how did they hold the draft, Mr. Lester, if you don't mind? Because if you were in summer school,
Yeah, I think the draft was held via phone. Every team was in their city and had a conference call into New York, and they would make their selection.
oh,
and Ronnie, it was a lot of rounds back then too, right?
There were 10 rounds to the draft back then, sure. Yeah.
Wow.
whoa,
Yeah, it was totally
Wow.
different.
But listen, 10 rounds, and you went first round, 10th player taken,
that's
and
tough.
you were at summer school.
I was taking 2 summer school classes trying to finish up my degree. Yeah.
Wow.
That's huge.
Wow. You
That's
were
huge.
focused, man. You were focused. So now you get the call, and now it's time for you to, do. I guess you had to do some kind of media with the media in Chicago to talk about, being selected with the Chicago Bulls. Who else was on that team
When I
with
first
you?
got to Chicago, Reggie Theus, Artis Gilmore, David Greenwood, uh, Kobe Dietrich, Ricky Sobers, Dwight Jones, Scott May, Bobby Wilkerson. Um, those were the guys on that team when I first got to Chicago that first year. Coach
Now,
was
were,
very
were,
smart.
were you guys winning games?
We made the playoffs my first year in Chicago. My first year in Chicago, I played, I think, 8 regular season games and 4 playoff games, because I hurt my knee my senior year at Iowa and missed half my senior season at Iowa. I had surgery on my knee in December after getting drafted in Chicago. And I came back towards the end of the year into the playoffs that year. I think we may have won 45 games that first year in Chicago. We made the playoffs. We played the Knicks, and back then it was the best 2 out of 3 in the first round of the playoffs.
Oh, wow.
We beat the Knicks in the first round of the playoffs that year, and played the Celtics, the Boston Celtics, in the next round, and got swept by the Celtics.
Um, do we have any questions, Bob, on our page on our line?
Man, people just excited as heck, man. It's one dude on here. He said his name is Nate King. Nate King say, Ronnie, excuse my language. He's no, he didn't cuss. He said Ronnie used to tear the lining out of us at Stateway Gym. Even though he was 4 years older than me, he gave me the business. He was shooting threes like Billy Harris, another Dunbar legend. You know Nate King?
I don't know that name. That's a long time ago.
That's a long time
That's probably
ago.
45 years ago.
Right.
I can't remember what I had for breakfast yesterday. That's a long time ago.
But Ronnie, you play with another guy that I'm friends with on Facebook, Dancy, Kenneth.
Kenny Dancy was a big time player. I didn't play. He was from. I think he went to Bill Elementary, which was a little bit farther south, 60
Okay.
something south of where I grew up. But we met up at Dunbar. He didn't play all 4 years at Dunbar, but he was He was 6'4", left-handed, could
Uh-huh.
shoot it. He was athletic. He uh, he got a scholarship to play. We were in the same class, and he was the second leading scorer my senior year in high school. He averaged about 18, 19 points a game, and he got a scholarship to play at Arkansas Pine Bluff, I want to say.
Okay.
He was there for 2 years, decided that he wanted to come back to Chicago, ended up at Chicago State.
Mm.
Played his final 2 years at Chicago State, got drafted by the Washington Bullets in like the fourth round,
Wow.
was the last cut in Washington that year, 1980. Went to France, where he played for like 18 years of pro ball in France, where he lives now.
Yep, he's still
Oh,
there. He's still there.
that's
Yeah.
So
cool.
he might be watching. If he's not, he'll be watching tomorrow. I know the time difference over there. But
Right.
yeah, he had definitely told me to make sure say hi to you too, man, because these guys respect you. They respect your game and they respect what you were all about too. And I also did. I mean, I admired you, man, and I look up to you. And that's what we don't see a lot, Ronnie. That especially people from Chicago, instead of uplifting each other, we'll throw darts at each other. Like, man, Ronnie made it, man. He ain't coming back, man. This and that. And I never like when Sean connected me back, with you because I know I had your number a while back, and it was just like, nothing happened. Like nothing changed with you. You still the same Ronnie. Open arms, and if you can help someone, you're gonna help them, and if not, you definitely gonna give them the right advice. I see that in you, and I heard a story about when you were at the Lakers and you were doing the scouting and looking at high school players, trying to get that early look on. There's a rumor going around that you were one of the first guys that first saw Kobe Bryant, with the Lakers organization. So you had your eyes on him first, and then you went back and told those guys, this kid is special.
Yeah, I got a chance. I started scouting when I quit playing, Marcus, in 1986. I played from 80 to 86, 4 years in Chicago and two with the Lakers. Um, the next year, Jerry West, who was our general manager at the time, he knew I was from Chicago, and the NBA preseason camp or the pre-camp is in Chicago before the draft every year. And he called me a week before to tell me he was coming into Chicago for the camp and he wanted to sit down and talk to me. And he spoke to me about scouting. He was looking for a scout in the Midwest, and he offered me the position to be a scout for the Lakers, scouting college talent in the Midwest in 1987, 88 was my first year.
Okay.
Um, I think Kobe came out of high school in 96. And what I did, I kind of immersed myself into scouting. Uh, I tried to see every player that was eligible for each and every draft. I tried to know as much as I could about every player. I tried to see every player. And every year I would go to the McDonald's High School All-American game. Uh, it so happens that the year Kobe came out in 96, the game was in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. So I went to the game. I saw Kobe. Trying to think who else was in that game. Tim Thomas was in that game.
Man,
Mm-hmm.
Steven Jackson was in that game. That game was loaded, man.
Yeah, it was great talent. Yeah, and every year is great high school talent from around the country. Mike Bibby was also in that game.
Mm-hmm.
And afterwards, one or two guys may come out. I think the year before, Kevin Garnett came out.
Mm-hmm.
And the year after Kobe, Tracy McGrady came out of high school. But in 96, I went to the game. You take notes, you see who you like, who you think can play. And it's really a chance to see the top talent before they go to college. And most of these guys do go to college. But it so happens a month or so later, Kobe decided that he was coming out and made that announcement. And I called Jerry and said, hey, you should see this kid. You should bring him in and work him out. And Jerry brought him in, worked him out. And fell in love with him. Um, we were trying to figure out where Kobe would go in the draft because that was the guy Jerry fell in love with and Jerry wanted to take in the draft.
Mm.
Um, you see a lot of kids that you like over the years that you would love to draft, but you're not in position to draft them because you're drafting later than they go in the draft.
Mm-hmm.
But Jerry's one of those guys. If he sees something and he likes a player, he's going to pursue that player to the end. And Jerry, to his credit, found out a way to acquire Kobe in that '96 draft, and the rest is history, as they say.
That's wild.
Wow, but it started with you though, having them eyes on them, man, and giving that information back to Jerry West. So big ups to you for
Yeah, I
actually
think,
seeing that.
yeah, that's my job. As a scout, that's your job. I mean, there are players that you see that that don't have much of a chance to play at that level, having played at that level and knowing what it takes to play at that level. There are other players you see that they're going to be good. And Kobe was one of those guys. You see a guy and this guy is really talented. He has a chance to be really, really good at the next level. And that's our job, is to let Jerry or whoever you're working for know that this player, don't waste your time seeing him. He can't play. You should see this guy.
Hey, can I rewind back, Liv, a little bit, right quick? I know we went straight to your executive career, but you left the Bulls and then you ended up going to play with Magic and winning the title, man. How did that feel?
It was great. In Chicago, we struggled in Chicago. I played in Chicago for 4 years, and we had 4 head coaches in the 4 years I was there. And it was a lot of chaos, basically, a lot of change in a short period of time. And I go to LA in the 84-85 season, and it was unbelievable to see how good and efficient the Lakers were as compared to the team I had just left,
Right.
Magic was a young player. Kareem was still in his prime. James Worthy was a young player. Byron Scott, Michael Cooper. We had sitting next to me on the bench was Jamal Wilkes, Bob McAdoo,
Wow.
Mike McGee, Larry Spriggs. It was a
That was loaded.
really talented team. Yeah.
To leave Chicago to that?
Yeah.
Like,
really
thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord.
Yeah.
Wow. That was amazing. So y'all ended up beating the
So
Celtics.
somebody was
Go ahead, Liv.
Yeah, you know what?
the Celtics.
No, they beat the Celtics in '85 when the year he won it.
Exactly. The year before, the Celtics beat the Lakers in the finals, and I was sitting on my living room floor watching the finals as the Celtics beat the Lakers and cheering for the Lakers because, I had knew Magic just a little bit, had played against him 2 years in college. He was at Michigan State. I'm at Iowa.
Right.
I'm rooting for the Lakers, and the Lakers, they had a chance. They made some turnovers late in a pivotal game to lose the game, and I think that turned the series and they lost it. But when I went there the next year, you could tell they were determined, they were focused to get back to the finals and win the finals, and they did that year. Played Boston again, and beat the Celtics in Boston in Game 6 to win the championship that year.
I know that was like, you couldn't believe it. From your living room floor to the title. Let's go, baby. Let's go.
Yeah,
but then you end up staying there 24 years and winning 7 titles, man.
Yeah. I started off, as I said, in scouting, and I did that for 14 years. I got a job promotion in 2001 to move to LA to be the assistant general manager, and I did that for 10 years.
Wow.
During that 14-year period as a scout, we had to rebuild that team a couple times because we lost Kareem to retirement. We lost Magic to the HIV virus.
Right.
And so we became one of the best teams in the league to a team struggling to make the playoff when those things happen. And we had to rebuild that team. And we did it basically through the draft and signing Shaquille in '96 as a free agent.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Now, Ronnie, I, I hear like when we started, you was talking about moms. Um, so I guess mom was a big part of your upbringing, and she instilled probably a lot in you. So let's talk a little bit about mom when you made it, to the NBA. I know she was probably excited.
Yeah, yeah. My mother raised me and three sisters alone. Uh, my mom, like a lot of moms, you love them to death. They're selfless. They love their kids. Uh, and she struggled at times. I saw her struggle. She did the best she could, and I'm so proud of my mother. Me growing up, I saw her struggle, and I didn't want to bring any more struggle on her. Uh, Growing up as a young kid.
That's awesome.
It's so many people though, Ronnie, would do they just don't see it. Like that's what I'm saying. At an early age, at a young age, man, you saw so much, and you stayed on a straight and arrow, not to go to the gangs, not to get involved with certain people. You was laser. It seemed like you were laser focused. Like you knew what you were trying to do, and you knew how to get there, and you was going to do whatever it take to get to that next level, wherever that may be. You getting from elementary to Dunbar, from Dunbar to college, from college, getting your degree, and then getting on to the NBA, and then you had some adversity that you had to fight. Your knees start, you had knee injuries, and then you had to make another decision. What's my next move? So it seems like everything was playing out, the way it's supposed to for your life, because you did do a lot of great things for that Lakers organization. But I think this is me personally saying this. I think, man, the NBA needs someone like you, to run an NBA organization. You did your thing with the Lakers. You was assistant GM, but I really do think that Ronnie Lester should be an executive general manager on somebody's team, because you got the eyes, talent, and you pretty much learn from Jerry West.
Yeah, you know what? I've not been in the game since 2015 was the last year I worked for an NBA team. I did some scouting for 2 years for the Phoenix Suns. 2013 through 15 was involved in two drafts with them. Um, and it's if I never get back into the league, Marcus, I'm content with where I am in my life and what I've done. The years I worked in the league. If someone called with a position that interests me, I would have some interest. But beyond that, I'm content with where I am and what I've done.
All right.
It's beautiful, man.
Well,
Some
I had to
one guy
ask,
on
man.
here, Bernard Cook. I'm sorry, Liv. Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, I tell you, I
Bernard
had to
Cook
ask
say,
that.
uh, my summer league teammate when we played for Coach Frazier, Old Town Boys Club and Southtown Y, B-Ball Brotherhood. Bernard Cook said, "What's up,
All right,
Mr.
what's up,
Ronnie
Bernard?
Lester?"
Yeah, I remember
Yeah.
Bernard. Bernard's a good player. Yeah, playing for Coach Frazier. Coach Frazier was our junior high coach in eighth grade.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you jumped ship and went to Dunbar on them.
Yeah, I went to Dunbar. I thought I didn't want to go to Phillips. That was just the thing. I didn't want to go to Phillips.
That
I had
wasn't that
gone to
wasn't
Phillips.
happening.
I had
Dunbar
gone
is a
up.
good academic school back then, too. And they was vocational, right?
Yeah, it's a vocational school, but the Phillips thing. My sister had went there, so I was up at Phillips occasionally, and I just didn't get a good vibe about the school. I went to Dunbar, and I thought I'd flourish at Dunbar. Dunbar was a newer school. My coach, my biddy coach, had gone there. He told me a lot about the school, so I thought it was a good decision to go somewhere different.
Who was the coach at Dunbar? Was it Faye Michael?
It was Jim Foreman.
Jim
Okay.
Foreman.
Yeah, I don't know if you know that name. Jim Foreman was the
Nah.
varsity coach. Ray Price was the freshman sophomore coach at Dunbar. Jim Foreman was the varsity coach, and Coach Foreman passed away about 3 years ago now.
Wow.
Oh man, sorry to
Man,
hear that.
I'm just in awe, man, because I was just reading up on you. I was like, man, I was always like, where's Ronnie Lester? Like, where's Ronnie Lester? And I didn't know you was chilling in the Lakers, man, for 20 years. You over there chilling in LA, man. Great career, man. We so proud of you, man, from Chicago. I just want to say I'm proud of you, brother. And you had that hezzy, right? You had that hesitation, right?
Well, you know what? I grew up playing the game. When I first learned the game, my biddy coach, we played the game fast, up and down. We pressed, we trapped, we pushed the ball, we played fast, and that's the way I grew up playing, and the way I like playing was
Right.
playing fast. You learn a lot of different ways to play. You play in the half court, but that's the way I grew up playing, and that's the way I played. Love to play fast.
I heard you and Isaiah Thomas used to have some good battles, did y'all?
Well, you know what? Isaiah was younger than myself. I was 3 years ahead of Isaiah. Uh,
Okay.
when Isaiah went to Indiana, I missed the Big Ten season because I hurt my knee in the preseason, missed the whole Big Ten season. But Isaiah and I played together
Okay.
on the 1979 Pan Am team in
Right.
1979 for Bobby Knight.
Give us the name on that. I was reading that. That team was loaded.
Yeah. Let me see. Who was on
Kevin
that team?
McHale.
He probably can't. He probably can't remember.
No,
all
don't
of
worry
them.
about it. Don't worry about it. I got it.
Yeah,
I
Kevin
saw it.
McHale was on that team. Isaiah was a high school kid on that team. The other high school player on that team was Ralph Sampson.
Ralph Sampson, Kyle Macy,
Michael Brooks, Sam Clancy,
Mike Woodson,
Mike Woodson, John Duran. Yeah, it's a really good team.
and then Coach Krzyzewski was the assistant coach. Coach K been around forever, Led.
Right.
He's an Illinois boy too.
Wow.
Weber
Yeah,
High
so
School.
we put him out.
But I always notice about Ronnie game though too. You never played around with the ball. You know how you see most guys want to showboat they handles is like I'm trying to get from point A to point B and I'm a every move I need to get there so I can get my shot off or make something happen for my teammates.
Yeah, I played for coaches who kind of frowned on you getting fancy and turning the ball over. So my game was pretty basic. Like you said, I didn't try to get fancy. I could probably beat most guys from point A to point B with the basketball. I was pretty fast and pretty quick. So yeah, I didn't play around with the ball, and I think part of that was me learning the game as a young kid, learning the fundamentals of the game, and trying to play the right way.
Man, I love your humility, man. You're just a humble guy. You and Terry Cummins, because Terry said he came on a visit with you, right?
Yeah, Terry came to Iowa when I was there on a recruiting visit.
And that's listening to you. It's like talking to Terry, big bro, and them, right, Lid?
Yeah, no doubt, man. But I know Ronnie got to go, but I want to ask Ronnie one more question, or Rob, you might have another one after this.
Nah, I'm cool.
What kind of advice, Ronnie, would you give to our listeners who may have a child that wants to get involved in basketball? What kind of advice would you give them so they can help, their kids?
I think you should foster any dream that your kid has, because you never know, what anybody can become. Your kid, my kid, with the proper guidance, with the proper instruction, finding the right coach or the right program for them. So I would say help your kid reach his dreams, whatever those dreams may be. Help him pursue those. In basketball, I know it's different today. When we were kids, you had to kind of learn the game on your own. You see guys do things, and you go out and try to do those things. Today, there's all kind of coaches, skill coaches, shooting coaches, conditioning coaches. So, if you have a kid that really loves the game, he wants to be a player, I would help foster that whatever way I could.
That's huge, man.
We had to end on that one, man. But then you gotta give it out to your Dunbar mighty men, because if you don't give them a shout out, Ronnie, they don't look at us like, oh, boy, Chicago, you guys gave us, but we need to hear from my main man, Ronnie. So you gotta give a shout out to your mighty men.
Yeah, shout out to all those Dunbar mighty men. I'm gonna make that picnic one of these years at Washington Park. They have a huge picnic every summer, and for some
Oh
reason,
man,
I'm always doing something, always busy. I can't make it back, so I'm gonna make it back one of these years.
you heard it from the legend Ronnie Lester on All Ball Chicago, baby. I enjoyed this with Marcus Liberty. Liv, did you freeze
You
up?
too.
Okay,
No, I'm here.
okay.
Appreciate you coming on, and joining us, brother. I love you, man, and much success, man. Whatever you choose to do.
Okay, love you, Marcus. Nice meeting you, Rob.
Hey, Mr. Lester, thank you, man. I stole a lot of your stuff. You said you wasn't fancy, but you used to go through the legs. You had some work, baby. You take it easy, big guy.
All right, you guys be good. Enjoy
Yes,
being
sir,
on.
man.
All right. All right. Peace.
Peace.
Man, that was awesome, man.
Man. Ronnie Lester.
You over there like this. You over there like this.
I can't.
And then you had the nerve to say Iowa State, man.
Iowa State Hawkeyes. Golly, man. Oh,
But
man.
let's do the recap, man. I mean, let's do the recap and then we up here, man.
Okay.
Man, it was interesting, man, just to hear him talk about his career playing third base, and then not going to the school that he was zoned for. Yeah, I don't want to go to Phillips, even the coach was, his elementary school coach, and he's like, nah, I'm not going there. I'm going to Dunbar.
Right.
He probably thought, academically, he wanted to go elsewhere. Probably had people at Phillips High School.
And like you said,
Phillips High School.
Dunbar was new.
Yeah. Not to say Phillips wasn't, an academic school or anything like that, because I don't want nobody to, think I'm trying.
No,
to
Phillips all love, man. Phillips all love.
I got love for.
I think they used the
schools,
picture of Cooley High for Phillips back in the days. Don't quote me on that. But I heard somebody say the front of the movie for Cooley High, that was Phillips High School. I think that's what they said.
But did you hear what Ronnie said? That freshman year, Phillips won, the championship, the state championship, when he went over to Dunbar, just coming off a state championship. So
Yeah.
Phillips had some dogs, man. Them Wildcats, them boys had some dogs back in the day.
Man, just to think
big ups.
about, like you said, they didn't have all them trainers, bro. They ain't have all them trainers.
No, and he was so on point with that. Like, man, we on television, then we go out there and try to mimic it, without the trainer. Actually, the television was our trainer. Watching those guys play.
Man, it was a blessing, because we used to be able to go right up to them, bro. When they played at the summer league at Chicago State in the summer, you could walk right up to the pros. And that was a big part of all of us, man, being blessed. So, man, All Ball Chicago, man, we looking for sponsors. Don't forget, if you want to sponsor our show, man, hit us up, man. We looking for sponsors. And we finna drop a new device on them too, Liv. We'll tell them about it next week, right?
Yeah, we're talking about it next week. And also, man, we looking for some people that can, because me and Rob pretty much calls, man, getting people on our show. We actually want to turn this into something real big, man, and maybe we help, people help somebody can help us, better. We not say we the best, but we also know that we love what we do, and when you love something, you just put it, give it your all. And so big ups, man, to all of our guests who came and showed us, and we're gonna keep getting better and better with this, man, and enjoying it and loving it, and giving, Chicago, our people what they want, and that's to educate them and educate them. We have to educate some people, some parents, how to raise. You see, he said that he came from a single family home, mom, and he saw the struggles, but he didn't want to put no burden on his mom, so he stayed straight on the straight, man. And if kids nowadays can listen to what he was just saying, because it's a lot of people that have come from that single family home, that if they can get something out of that, man, that put nothing else on your parents when your mom doing all the work and trying to support it should be. So don't put that extra burden on her, man. Let her continue to put the food on the table and pay the bills, and then you go out and do what's right, which is to get your education.
Yeah. I'm going to give a shout out to a few people on here that watching the show, man. We really, 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 really appreciate the comments, man, the positive stuff, the feedback that y'all giving me and my brother Marcus Liberty. Man, this is not about us. This is about y'all. This is about Chicago. So Donovan Lane, thanks for the love. Cindy Garcia, thanks for the love. Kathy Schumann, thanks for the love. Demetrius Freeling Sr., great show, man. We appreciate you, man. You always tune in with us. Cindy Garcia, again, thanks, man, for tuning in, man. We really, really appreciate y'all. And Tony Pruitt, man, get your Simeon guys together. I want you to get the legends from back then in your day, because I heard you was a murderer too, boy. And Bernard Cooks, much love to you too. Kendall, my man, Magic Man, Josh Rosenbaum. I don't want to miss nobody. We just want to give y'all love, man. So that's me, Liv. That's it for me, baby. What you about to be on, big guy?
You know what? It's time for me to unlace the shoes, man. We laced them up with Ronnie. Now I've got to unlace them, man, because it's the end show. I had a ball with this show today. A lot, man. I actually learned a lot just listening to Ronnie. That's why I wasn't really trying to talk too much.
Right.
I wanted to listen, man. Sometimes we have to be students and want to listen to somebody that has some extra knowledge that we tend to need. And he was dropping it, man. He was dropping a lot of knowledge today. So again, man, for coming on All Ball Chicago.
I want to say this too, big guy, and just like Liv, you come from the projects. I mean, great guy. Ronnie Lester, statewide guards. The labels, man, we throw that stuff out the window, man. Look at guys are making moves, man, from wherever you're from. So if you feel like you're in a rut and you don't think you can make it, man, think about some of these guys who come from hard times, man. Because I'm telling you, your opportunity is there. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it, man. All Ball Chicago, Believe Podcast Network, your boy Bobby Reed, the co-host, Market Limited Legend. I'm pumped up, baby.
Yeah, you always pumped up, man, and sometimes I gotta cool it down. All right, man, we gotta get out of it, because I start singing, man, and then people are really mad at me because they know I can't sing at all, man. But All Ball Chicago, man, we will be back again.
We need high schools, right, Liv?
I think the high school is gonna be easy for us to get, man, because we know people, we know people. You
want the Paul girls, the Big Ten girls?
Yeah, we can probably work on them. We'll work on them, but I want to drop this, man, so all our listeners can know what's up on Tuesday. Tuesday, man, we're gonna have that McDonald 1987 crew come on, who played with me and against me. Dennis Scott, Mark Macon, Sean Higgins. And I'm trying to get Rodney Monroe. If I can get my man Rodney Monroe or Chris Corciani, both of them. I think I want to try to get my man Eric Manuel, Macon, Georgia. Some of these people probably who listening to us know, but we definitely gonna get Sean Higgins and D Scott on. They already committed.
Tuesday gonna be on fire, baby. Let's go, big fella.
So that would be Tuesday, 9 o'clock Eastern Time, 8 o'clock Central.
All Ball Chicago, Believe Podcast Network. Swing over to Believe Podcast Network and check all our shows out, man. We got a plethora of them up there, baby. And without further ado, I'm up out of here, Liv.
Peace, Chicago, my brother.
Man. Peace, y'all. Peace. Hasta la vista, baby. Serenara, buenos noches.
Boy, zip it, boy. Zip it. Peace.